Hello, and welcome to Ending Physician Overwhelm. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Mello. I'm a family and obesity medicine physician, as well as a certified life coach for physicians. In this podcast, we talk about how the learned habits of people-pleasing, perfectionism, and a lack of boundaries show up in our lives and how they contribute to burnout, exhaustion, and overwhelm. The healthcare system is broken, my friends, but let's not wait for it to be fixed in order to feel better. Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to another special guest episode. Today, I'm so excited to introduce you to my friend, Isabelle Amigues, who is a rheumatologist currently practicing in Denver, Colorado. She has a delightful background of having trained in medicine, both in her native Paris as well as in Columbia University in New York City, and currently is establishing her own direct private care rheumatology practice in Denver, Colorado. Dr. Amigues, welcome to the show.
Does this work now? Thank you. Let's do it again.
Technical difficulties.
Do you want to stop the recording and start it again? No?
No, okay. This is real life. All right. Well, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that we have this chance to sit down and talk today.
Thank you. Well, so and thank you for having me, despite the computer issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you have a really special story to share with the audience. And so I'm so glad that we have a chance to talk about it. And let's go ahead and just dive right in. So many of us experience, just kind of the regular challenges that come along with providing medical care to our patients, right? The busyness of that, we throw in, family and all of those challenges. But part of your story is having been diagnosed with an advanced cancer at a young age. And I'd love for you to share, kind of your story, including what was going on in your life before you were diagnosed. How did the diagnosis, kind of come to light, and how did you sort of enter into that process of moving from physician to patient?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are such good questions. And really thank you for the work that you do, because I actually wish, in a way, I wish that I knew that I was so burnt out. And I keep saying this. For me, how I felt before the cancer was way worse than after I got diagnosed. It's how bad I was distressed. And some people would say that was burnout. I was so distressed. And in a way, the cancer actually saved me. But I can go back. So I trained twice. So I trained in France. I did rheumatology. I'm a rheumatologist there. I guess I could put my shingle out there. And I'm definitely looking into this, but and then I came to the US, and because of love, which I think is the best reason, right? And I did a lot of research, and I actually did extended training because I absolutely love being a rheumatologist. It's like the best specialty ever. I love being a doctor, and it's you like the residency in this country, like the US, is so much harder than what I had experienced in France. And so, there are so few weekends that are called golden.
It's special to get 2 days off.
Exactly, right? You're being asked that, to work, I don't know how many hours. And then even if they are like, that there's restricted hours, but then you never feel fulfilled. Your patients are one day yours, then the next day they are not yours. Like, it was awful. Like, the internship, it was awful, because for me, like, one of the things that I love about being a doctor is this relationship with my patients. And I did not have that in New York. And I had to come with the term that was okay. Mm-hmm. And then I did my fellowship. I enjoyed it quite tremendously, actually, and at Columbia University, my own patients. And then I moved to Denver for the mountains. And I was doing, by any means, I wasn't working that much. Some people work much harder. So I had 6 clinics. And then I was trying to get funding for research because I really like research.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had this realization of like, this is it. That's what my life is now.
Yeah.
And I think it hit me because I had everything that I had always worked towards to. I finally had kids after struggling to have them. I was, married. I had the job of my dream, but yet I wasn't happy. I felt I had zero. It took me a long time to realize that the main issue is that I had zero autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
And just like this realization of like, this is it. Like, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
I'm
like
not,
my life is running me.
Exactly. Like, I don't want to see this was awful. I felt like so guilty as a mom. I didn't want to see my kids. I wanted to see my then husband, but like, we didn't really have much to connect.
Mm-hmm.
And basically I wanted to like leave the house as soon as possible, go climbing, which was my way out,
Mm-hmm.
and not see any doctors. And like, I felt awful. And I met someone at the climbing gym that was doing a lot of back and forth between Europe and the US. And I was just like, wait, why do I not do this?
Mm-hmm.
Somehow this basically broke me. So like, it was almost like this realization of like, my life is not where I would like it to be, but I never realized. Like, it's almost like I had this path. That's what I went through for, when like I did 2 trainings because I was like, okay, well, at one point, this is going to end. At one point, I'm going to be happy. And I was not. Like, once I arrived, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not happy. This is what I've always worked towards to, and I'm not happy. And I just broke down. I was like crying all of the time. It was just awkward.
And it was this idea that somebody could live a life where they had the flexibility to live part-time in Europe and part-time in the US. And that idea was just so challenging to you. Is that what it was?
No, I think it was just this realization of like, so basically I was unhappy and I was like functioning on my reserves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just like this, like looking at him was just like, wait, like I am not even doing this. I could. Why am I not going to France here and there? Like, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm stopping myself from happiness. I'm stopping. Like, what is stopping me? Nothing is stopping me. I can go, but like I wouldn't be able to go. And so I have this. I had this like realization of like, as if a veil had taken off from my vision, and like, you've been working you've been working so hard, but this is what you have been working for. And from the outside, it looks perfect, right? Like, oh, look at you, you're a doctor in the US, one of the best institution, you're doing research and you're seeing patients that are super interesting. You have kids. Oh, so cute. Yeah. But like inside, I was like, I have zero connection with my kids. I have very small connection with my then husband. Like, we divorced and good friends. My job doesn't mean as much as I ever, like, I wasn't getting pleasure from.
We thought it would be different.
Yeah, because I just felt like I had to see another patient, write notes. And like, I was just like, so in a way, actually, when I got diagnosed, I realized that, because that's the thing, right? Like, once I got diagnosed, I went super deep into like, that you don't create disease. We know that from Occidental, Western medicine. But the truth is that for me, I was like, hell no. I do not know if this came because I made it happen, but like, I'm telling you, I'm going to learn from it. Yeah. And I had stage 4 metastasis to the bone and metastasis to the liver. I can tell you, I was listening. And it, like, I went super deep into what do I want? What do I need? What does this life looks like? I don't know if I'm going to make it or not. I really want to make it, but do I really want to? And I remember so clearly that moment in the yard where I realized I was talking with a very good friend of mine in France. And I was like, I think I have a choice. And basically, this cancer is here to give me that choice. I can literally live or I can leave. and it's
Mm-hmm.
offering me that choice. And the reason I'm so passionate about sharing my story is that I just don't want anyone to have to go through this. Like, I think we can make choices before this happens, right? And it's very interesting. So it happened to me at 40. And there's this, I kept telling my friend, the same friend, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm such a cliche. I'm so cliche. And he's like, well, there's a reason things are cliches, because it's common. Don't feel bad about it. And then I was like, and then he taught me what the word crisis meant. And it was, crisis comes from Greek of choose. You have to choose. And I was like, holy cow. So this is even before the cancer was diagnosed. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, I have to choose what I want to do with my life. And do I stay? So for me, it was the marriage and all this. And so do I stay in this marriage that doesn't work for me? Mm-hmm. But it wasn't the marriage. It was just my life. Or do I choose to, do something else of my life? And
that's so powerful. That idea of crisis becomes a choice, right? Yes. I can keep on this path and I know what this gets me and everything looks nice from the outside, but I feel terrible inside.
Yeah.
Or I can make the brave choice to say, this is not what I want.
Yeah.
Like in this way, this is not how I want to be doing things. Oh.
It's so hard. Like you're transporting me back then. I mean, I would have, and this is like a month, 2 months before the cancer diagnosis, which is again, the cool thing. And it's kind of funny to use like such a positive word, but the really powerful thing about having cancer is that you suddenly have action. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm sure some people will not do action, but like, man, you have a cancer, especially, stage 3, I was like, 95% chance of remission. Like, we're good, right? Stage 4, I never wanted to know the number of percentage of survival rate. Like I was like, no, I don't want to read anything. No. But then I was like, I'm listening. But during the time of this crisis, I couldn't choose. I couldn't, because, like the life that I worked so hard to create, the marriage that I was working so hard to make work, the kids that I worked so hard to have, and none of them were making me happy. And it doesn't mean that you have to leave, right? Like any of this.
Right.
But it's like, okay, what is needed to be happy? Like, how do I make this? Like, how do I create connections with my kids? And I do have connection. I do have amazing connection now with the kids. I love being around them.
Yeah. But we assume for such a long time, right, that those external things will be the thing that makes us happy, right? The job, the marriage, the kids, say we get a TED Talk, like any number of things should make us happy, should make us feel content, but they don't.
Yeah.
Because it's really has to come from inside us, right? The way that we think about things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see, that's where the cancer was helpful. Another positive word. But it's only positive. I don't even say that I fought cancer, because I was like, no, I worked with it. And I really see it like that. But like this realization of, okay, what do I want in my life? But what do I, not my ego, what do I want in my life? And this is when I realized, I was like, wow, why do I like research? Okay, I like the intellectuality, like the thing. It's really powerful intellectually. And I do want to do more research. But I realized then, I was like, hold on. When I could do anything I wanted during the moment that I was undergoing chemo and radiation therapy and so on, I basically, what did I ask? I asked for less time at work. But what did I do? I continued to see patients, because that fulfilled me. I did not touch anything research-wise, did not touch it. Mm-hmm. And that was interesting. And I was like, okay, why am I doing research? Well, you know what? My ego. Because for that one fraction of second, seeing my name first author or last author gave me like an ego boost that lasted so short time, right? Because then it's like, oh, then the next. then you want something else, right? Or then you're like, oh, this wasn't an impact factor that's high enough that I'm going to feel satisfied with this. Next impact factor. And so just this realization of, okay, why am I doing this research? Am I doing it because I really enjoy this work, or is it ego? And for me, I realized that there was a lot of ego involved. So then I was like, okay, don't need this. Or maybe I need it, but like maybe my ego can satisfy itself with something else, because that's not really the me. Like, what do I? And then I realized, right, like I need connections. That's what I need. Like, that is what fulfills me. I need connections in my life, whether they are from my kids. Like, I'm going to work towards creating connection with the kids. And then it was connection with people around me, my family, my friends. And then I tried very hard with my then husband. And then we just realized, like, we tried everything. We were like, okay, well, we love each other maybe, but we're not in love, or like, let's, move on. But I think that that's so powerful to sit down and be like, what do I truly need? And is that my ego? Or is that really who I am? Because in face of death, there is no more ego. I'm telling you, like, there's no ego. It's gone. It's gone. Even though mine was, and I would have assumed that a lot of physicians have a very high ego. I'm telling you, the ego is gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
You're not wondering, how many papers did I wrote?
Is that going to go on the gravestone? Like, and it was such an interesting perspective. I'm so glad that you brought up the word ego and how that plays in, because I think, many of us can have an event or something that, sort of gives us a perspective shift, but really sitting down and separating those two parts, of like, who am I, really truly inside, and what does that person need, and what's being driven by ego? Because I don't think we talk enough about that. And, we think about all the things that pop up in physicians' lives, like, being voluntold to run a committee, or, to be the clinic lead, or, those kinds of things. And so many people struggle to say no, in part because they may think that, like, this is necessary. If I say no, then, I'm going to lose opportunities, or might not be asked again. Yeah. But there is also that ego, right? And hoping that if I say yes to that, maybe then I'll feel good, right? Maybe then I'll feel, worthy. The same way, like, if I have a high impact factor, then I'll feel good about myself.
Yeah. It's funny. One of my favorite books that I read during that time, I think the PET scan was finally, like, was normal then. So I was, like, the treatment is working. But I read this book called Essentialism, and it's like one of my favorite books, where you learn how to say no, basically, because the idea is, like, if you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And so you have to be very mindful at what do you say yes to, and saying yes all of the time because you're a people pleaser is only ego. It's only for your ego. It's only because you're like, oh, I'm going to save the day by saying yes to this. And it's interesting, right? That's probably why I left the institution I was at, because I was like, I'm done. Yeah. I don't want to work in this system anymore. As much as I love everyone that works here, I don't want to, my patients and I deserve better.
Yeah. So let's talk about that then. So, you came through this cancer journey, right? Move into surveillance mode, and you've got this new perspective. And then it was time to really think about, what do I want for my work?
Yeah.
Right. And you've done this work on separating self and ego. Tell us a little bit about how that unfolded, of you deciding, not only to leave, but also, right, that you were going to create your own place, right? Not just take a different job, but create your own clinic.
Yeah. Well, so I got this cancer before COVID, right? So I was finally getting better, and then COVID hit. It's, not such a big deal, but it was just like, whoa, oh, look at that. And then it seemed like every single people healed, right? Like COVID was also very healing for a lot of people. I don't know that it was the case for healthcare workers, but a lot of other people did do the healing.
Yeah.
And, but I do think that at that moment, all the healthcare workers that stayed had a sense of purpose.
Mm-hmm.
There was no more ego. I remember being part of this COVID group in rheumatology, and I'm telling you, there was no ego at that time. And then as things unfolded, started back the ego process. And I was like, oh, I'm out of this. I'm not, I don't want to, like, this is annoying me.
Yeah.
But I think what happened was that I started seeing my friends and colleagues fall one at a time around me. And I was like, I'm next. And I had already gone through burnout to the point that I went, I had a cancer, right? And so I was just like, even though, like, you know, maybe it's superstitious, maybe it's, you know, me making connections, but I don't want to go back to that place. I just don't. And so then I started thinking, like, how do I make my work better? So I actually, it's very funny. I did a Vipassana retreat center. It's 12 days of nothing, just meditation. You have not the right to talk with anyone. You only eat twice a day. You don't sleep. Basically, you go to bed at 10 and you wake up at 4. And then you have no reading, no writing, no talking, like no distraction. And during, like, I did 11 out of the 12 days. I still regret it. Maybe one day I'll do it again. It was hell. But like, I remember, like, most of the time I was actually thinking of work and how was I going to make it better? How was I going to change it, like improve it and all this? And I came back and I just realized that no one cared about my take on it. No one. And so then I realized, I was like, so basically it doesn't matter what I think. And so I was like, wow. And so that's when I actually went to a physician coach. And I asked her to help me figure out if I should leave or not. I told her, I said, I'm on the verge of, should I leave, should I not? And I don't know. And I don't know how to choose. Again, another crisis, right? But this time I got help. I was like, I need help.
Yeah.
And I chose. And it's very interesting. I think I chose before, I think I got the appointment. And that same day I went to my boss and I said, I quit. And he said, wait, wait, come back in 2 weeks. I went back 2 weeks later and he said, so, and I'm like, well, it doesn't change. Like, nothing has changed from your side. Why would it change from my side? And it was very funny because they're like, okay. But I think, the cool thing was that the coach helped me figure out what I wanted for my work. What were my, how do they call that? Like the core values, my values, what were my core values? And I just realized, I was like, I don't think I can get it where I am. And then became the really hard decision of, wow, what do I do? Right? Like, so I have this pre-existing condition, like this cancer story. So I'm on maintenance treatment. And like, wow, like I'm now a single mom. I mean, you know, and he's still around and he's helping and all this. I mean, I'm lucky.
But you're still,
still a single mom.
Yeah.
And now I'm like making a mistake. It's on me, right? And then I was like, wow, so powerful. Like, to make that decision was basically to say, I trust the future. And that was so powerful because I was 2 years out? Yeah, I was 2 years out. And I was like, I'm making that decision. And holy cow, was it powerful. But, you know, even now I'm still shaking. I'm like, am I doing the right thing? Is this doing the work or not? I'm going to tell you, we are lucky. We're physicians. We can do locums. You can have the life you want just because you can do locums. Your institution will always take you back. There's no question because they don't pay well.
Now, that may be more true in some specialties than others, but yes,
really?
You know, there's,
Okay, well, I don't know. It seems to me that most of the specialty, they'll take you back. But, you know, I mean, the truth is that I didn't burn any bridges, right? I do love them and all this. Maybe they won't take me back, but that's okay. We're physicians. There's a ton of jobs. That's like
we have a good ability to make money when we need to.
Exactly. And then the other thing is that we have our brains. And I think that, you know, I keep seeing I keep seeing like other people that were in my class who were not as hard workers or, as good. And then, they are doing really well. And so then I'm like, hold on, why are we whipping ourselves? Like, oh my gosh, because I'm a doctor, I'm doing it, like, so then I should suffer? No, I should not suffer. Why should I suffer? like, there's no reason to suffer. I can enjoy what I'm doing and not have to suffer. And in fact, I believe that physicians in the past did not suffer. And the reason why they were working 80 hours per week were that they were getting the ego boost that they needed to do that, that they were so recognized by society that for them, it was just a way of being. And that you could be a doctor without having writing your notes. Like, what is sucking out the pleasure of doing medicine if not the click on a stupid computer that has nothing to do with your patient? What is removing sucking the pleasure of being a doctor is that you have to deal with insurances that are telling you how to practice medicine. And I'm like, hell no. Like, yeah. I mean, yeah.
The patient has to fail this treatment and this treatment and this treatment.
Yeah.
Like, why do we have to go through all of that?
Exactly. And then you're like, practice medicine for me if that's what you want. Like, and then they're like, yeah, we do. Like, then do it, but I'm not gonna it's just insane to me. It's like, and then the thing that really was, that's something that really pissed me off was when my institution started replacing docs for APPs. And as much as recognition I have for the APPs, I'm like, I have 17 years of studying and you're replacing, not that you're replacing me personally, but like basically they are saying it's the same. And the truth is that for insurance, it's the same. And so I was like, no, I'm done. And I don't know where this is going to go. But I think it's going to go well. That's my hope. I think it's going to go well. I think it's already going well. I'm 5 months into it. I've been in the black. I think that's how you say it. I want to say I've been in the beautiful rainbow colors of something that is of value to me. That is that's challenging intellectually, but it's like I have control over it. I enjoy the relationship I have with my patient. I see the pleasure they have to be in this relationship, and they are just as annoyed with insurance as I am with it. So it's wonderful. And I will say it again, like it was a gutsy move. Like, wow, how gutsy. But if there is one thing that I've learned is that nothing is given to us. Nothing. And so this is, you may die at any moment. And so if you don't choose to live right now, how you want to fully live, like how the I, not the ego, how the I wants to live, it's just the life is going to be, it's not our lives.
Yeah. Well, I want to highlight, something that you said, which is that, you finally decided to trust yourself, that even though you hadn't done this before, right? And you had no proof that you could open your own business and, have a successful clinic, you trusted that you would be there and figure it out. And in my coaching training, we call that the difference between, kind of confidence, right? I've done this before and I know I can do it again. And self-confidence of, I've never done this before, but I trust myself to figure it out. And I think that's really the crucial step for anybody who's, really planning to take a big leap, of having that faith in yourself. I can figure this out, right? And, from your story in particular, right? Like, you did residency twice, right? You went through this cancer journey, right? And, the distress of a marriage ending and all of these challenges, right? You can figure it out, right? There's nothing that's going to happen in business that's so challenging that you can't figure out a solution to move forward, even though, right, the fear sometimes feels paralyzing.
Yeah. This is powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So for everybody who's listening, learning to lean into that idea that you can be able to trust yourself, even with something you've never done before, because you know that you're someone who can figure it out.
Mm.
Thank you. That's so powerful. If you wouldn't mind sharing just a little bit about the direct specialty practice model, because that's not something I think we've talked about on the show before. And I think more people are familiar with the direct primary care model. But kind of what are you doing in your practice?
So I think I'm pretty much creating it as I go, in the sense of, it is true, the direct primary care practice makes sense. It's like, okay, you need a primary care physician, and you're basically saying, hey, I hope I don't need you, but in case I need you, this is my retainer fee, right? Like, I'm going to pay you a retainer fee. In fact, it's actually beautiful, because this is how a long time ago, in the Chinese way, they used to do this, and they would stop. So I think that the story was, they would stop the moment they needed the Chinese doc. So you would pay the Chinese doc as long as you were healthy, and then you would stop the moment you needed them. Something like that, which I find is super cool, actually. Anyway, so I love the idea of DPC, which is basically saying, hey, look, I'm going to have this amount of patients. I'm going to care for you like no other doctors can. But you pay me a retainer fee, right? Or I don't know how it's called. Anyway, a direct fee. And in the direct care specialty practice, I think it's less easy to figure that out, because not everyone that's going to come to my door is going to need me forever. There are some patients that are going to need me. That is absolutely true. So patients with lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, but
they
some
might need a lot
we don't
from
know.
Yeah.
Exactly. But some patients, I just see them twice, and then, off you go. Like, I can reassure you, if you need me, I'll be there, but like, most likely you are not going to need me. And so you have to create it. You have to create your system the way that it works for you in terms of your specialty. What I'm realizing that works probably better for me is packages. So I have a package for diagnosis. Then I have a package for maintain health, and I'm creating a package for restoring health. So, right, like, so you have rheumatoid arthritis, and you need, not rheumatoid arthritis, let's say you have a vasculitis, and I'm going to see you every 2 weeks, or every 3 weeks, or a month. Then it's going to be more involved than if I see you 4 times a year.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm trying to get to, basically creating packages that make sense for everyone that I need to see.
And part of what you've been able to integrate, I believe, is also, kind of the integrative health care model, right? Where it's not just like, okay, well, here are the drugs that you hear about on TV. It's like, no, we're also going to look at, nutrition and mental health, and, really take that whole body approach, right? Creating this for yourself has allowed you to be able to do that and, integrate it with these packages that you're creating.
I guess, sorry, I was just answering the question of direct care, but you're absolutely right. So my approach is that, and it's called unabridged MD for that reason. It's like unabridged in the sense of non-edited version of the patient and of the physician. Because why? Because it's not like I'm not just seeing one little piece of my patient. I have the time to do the things that most of the time when we were in previous institution, we were like, please don't go there. I don't want to have to talk about that, right? Like, it's not, please talk to me, right? Like, what happened? Tell me about this trauma that you just told me about, right? Like, a patient comes in, they're saying, I have PTSD. Like, I mean, I'm certain everyone that has worked in a normal private practice clinic, insurance-based, is like, oh, please let me know.
We can't do that.
Exactly. Because they're like, I'm opening a can, and they would say can of worms. For me, it's like, tell me about it. Let's talk. Like, what's happening? And oh man, it's so powerful, because suddenly I actually practice medicine the way I want to. So my first visit is 90 minutes, 90. But the truth is that the next ones, I had put them for 60 minutes, and I'm realizing I don't even need that much, because the patients feel so well, so good that there is a flow to our conversation. But the 90 minutes, we go very deep into everything. And I personally love to hear the connection. What happened during this time that you're talking about? Like, when you're saying something happened, what happened? Tell me. Like, during that time when you had your first symptom, tell me a little bit about the 6 months leading to that. What was going on in your life, right? So that's a very holistic approach of, the patient is not just one organ. but the patient is a whole, and it's like a whole ecosystem, and we're working with the whole thing. And if, I'm very evidence-based medicine. And so I was wondering if that was all placebo, which is 30% anyway. But I don't actually think it's placebo. I think that there's a lot of subconscious work and all this. And I'm loving that work, because it goes so much more deep. And I've had patients where they had seen 10 rheumatologists. They had failed, when we say failed, none of their treatment work. And it's not that my new treatment is going to work, but suddenly you're asking them like, hey, tell me, like, can you see anything that this diagnosis has brought to you? And suddenly they like think about it, and there's a shift.
Like you're unlocking something that was keeping them stuck and keeping them from responding to treatment. And because you're taking the time and the interest, that's part of the healing too.
Exactly.
And maybe we label some of that placebo because we can't label it something else. But no, I think you're right. I mean, it's the same is true in obesity medicine, right? Of like really hearing someone's story and what their real struggles are enables so much good work, right? Of like, oh, okay, we can move past this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so wonderful. I'm so glad that we had a chance to talk about that part of it. For someone who's out there listening to your story, and they really, are finding themselves in a place of struggle, either, in terms of burnout, or perhaps they've gotten a new diagnosis that, is really hard for them. What do you want that person who's suffering right now with some of the things that you've gone through? What do you want them to know that you wish that somebody could have offered you when you were in that place?
And I did get offered that.
Good.
So I think that, I did. Connections again. I think the most important thing is to realize that this will pass. What is the name? This shall pass too.
This too shall pass. Yeah.
This too shall pass. The too shall pass. And it's really powerful to realize that this too shall pass. Then the other thing is to realize that suffering is part of our life, but it's also, and that's what my friend told me that day. She's like, this is when we grow. And boy, did I grow. And then I think one of the books that I love the most was called The Miracle Morning, where he goes over, so it's Ed Howard, A Miracle Morning. And he goes over like different things to do that I all did in the morning. So meditation, visualization, journaling, writing, reading, exercising. And I did them all. I don't do them as often, which I'm missing actually. At the time, it felt vital. So I was doing it every single day. That in itself changed my life because I had some sense of control. And also the moment you go into deep meditation, and I have patients who are like, well, I don't know how to meditate. Like my mind doesn't stop. And I'm like, oh, let me tell you, even 14 hours per day for 12 days, my mind did not stop racing one bit.
Yeah. Stopping is not the point.
Exactly. It's going to talk. It's going to talk. But if what I find very, very powerful is the more we do meditation, we can get to that one fraction of second where you're so deeply grounded and there is no more suffering. There's just is. And I'm always trying to get there because I know that that's where I want to be. It's so powerful. That is so powerful. And I think, my sister, when I was going through that crisis, she's like, meditate. And I was like, hell no, like this is not working for me.
That's not going to help.
Yeah, exactly. But then I got the diagnosis of cancer and I was like, okay, I'm going to meditate. So I started meditating. So the Miracle Morning, I think, does a very good job at explaining how to do everything. And it's very quick read. And so this is something that I got from my friend when I was in a deep hole. And I was just like, wow, this is powerful. And I started doing it. And that is how I started going up. And so this is very easy. You just buy it, do it. It's on Amazon. I don't think he has a publishing company. He self-publishes and he has like sold millions. The Miracle Morning, and it changed your life. And it's unbelievable. And even if you're sad right now, or feel like you're in a hole, that's okay. That's fine, because it will not stay like this and you have a power to get out. And I think that meditation, visualization, journaling, all of those things, they actually help. And there are studies behind all of this. So just take my word for it right now, but know that there are studies behind all of those things, things.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, fascinating.
Well, and just the practice of doing those things intentionally in the morning, first thing, like that is your first priority. Like we can all really just look at that and be like, oh, what is that like to wake up and do something for myself first, right? Fill my own cup before I go serving all the other humans, right?
Yeah. Yes.
It makes total sense.
Yes, absolutely. Anyone right now that doesn't feel perfect should do that.
Yes.
And I'm really saying this perfect because, right, like, and this is probably what's happening for me. When I'm really stressed out, I do that and it puts me down. And it's funny because, right, like I'll wake up earlier to do that. But yeah, no, what a powerful thing to do for us.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And so for someone who's listening and they want to learn more about you and your practice, tell the listeners where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Unabridged MD, so unabridgedmd.com. I have the Instagram. I have a podcast, YouTube, and just general podcast, Unabridged MD, where I talk a lot about mindset. Actually, it's not. There's not much rheumatology in there, which I probably should change and put more rheumatology. But for now, it's a lot of mindset because it's the idea of how do we bring hope driven by science. And yeah, I'm on I think all of the social media platforms. So yeah, Unabridged MD, that's how you find me.
Excellent. And we'll have links to that in all the show notes for us. So, well, Isabelle, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a wonderful conversation and just a real treat to kind of hear your perspective and your story. And I know that the listeners will have gotten as much out of it as I have. So thank you so much for joining me.
And thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
All right, my friends, that's what we have for you this week. Thank you so much, as always, for listening. And until next time, take care.
Well, that's our show for today. Thank you as always for listening. To learn more about my coaching programs, head to www.healthierforgood.com. And if you love this podcast, please drop us a review on iTunes or support the show by clicking the link in the show notes. Until next time, take care.